Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome to the podcast, the unofficially official English language podcast of Pacific League TV. I am one of your two hosts, Gabriel Lurbin. Unfortunately, Jimbo Bernicki is unable to join us today. He mentioned something about mourning the end of the Takuya Kai era. More on that later. Joining me, however, is Michael Bealey, just like old times. Mike, how goes?
Yeah, it really is just like old times. I'm doing well. Got a lot to talk about, and yeah, I heard Jimbo was quite eepy. So
Yeah.
yeah, ready to go.
Hey, at least he's doing better than me. I tried to pick a fight with gravity and lost, and now I have a cast on my right hand.
Never works out.
Still, I typed up all these notes before that happened, so we'll make it work.
No, that's impeccable timing.
No, no kidding. We've got a number of top stories this week. Free agency, we're going to be sprinkling in those throughout the show. The active player draft took place shortly after our last show, and I have a quick summary of who moved into and out of the Pacific League. The Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks got right-handed swingman Taiga Kamichitani from the Bay Stars and lost catcher Kengo Yoshida to the Fighters. The Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters got Yoshida and lost two players for the first time ever in active player draft history. Right-handed pitcher Eito Tanaka and submariner Kenya Suzuki. The Chiba Lotte Marines got infielder Masami Ishigaki and lost utility man Taiga Hirasawa to the Lions. The Eagles got right-handed starter Daichi Shibata to help with the bullpen and lost right-handed pitcher Mao Ito, a sidearm sinker baller. The Oryx Buffaloes got right-handed reliever Keisuke Honda from the Lions and lost infielder Tatsuya Yamaashi, a glove-first utility man. And as you can piece together from earlier, the Saitama Seibu Lions got Hirasawa from the Marines and lost Honda. Also, sound the alarm. We have an actual trade that went down between our last show and now. The Hawks got left-handed starter Haruhiro Hamaguchi from their Japan Series opponent, the Yokohama DNA Bay Stars, giving up infielder Masaki Mimori. With Jeter Downs in town, Mimori really didn't have a spot in the infield, and his injuries had sort of piled up to the point where he seemed expendable. At least he's got 56 stolen bases in his career. For Hamaguchi, the Hawks have a dynamo to join the rotation and another lefty to help out Levon Moinello. A career 3.76 ERA, 658 strikeouts over 703 and a third innings pitched since 2017. So, interesting trade. Two regulars being exchanged is a rarity in NPB, so this has some shockwave potential. Mike, you had a story before I round things out, right?
Yeah, so something interesting that I noticed last month back in December actually was if you collect baseball cards and if you collect Japanese baseball cards, you know the only way to get Sadahara O's autograph was in the products released by BBM and Epoch in Japan. Well, unannounced, Topps had a agreement with Sadahara O, and it was in their Topps Chrome update product. They didn't tell anybody, and people were pulling his autograph, and he was pictured in a Hawks uniform, and now they have officially announced it that they have I believe it's a 2 or 3 year deal with him for autographs, and he's going to be appearing in a variety of Topps products from being the Hawks manager with pictures back to his days of, with the Giants, pictures of him in Samurai Japan uniform as a manager. So it's really cool, and the cards actually do look really nice, and this is not his first time appearing in those products, but usually he's like he signs, but there's no picture of him. They can't use his name. They just put the autograph out. And something that I is really interesting about it is as soon as they started doing that, now the company Leaf, which is another company in the U.S., formerly was a Canadian company, but they've already announced that he's in their set coming out in this next summer. It's like Days of Summer or something. He's going to be in that, and then I believe the Panini Company and Donruss are going to start putting his autograph and everything. So now's a pretty good time to get it for a chance to get his autograph if you're stateside.
Very cool and relevant to the podcast because Hawks. He still
Always.
has a museum outside the Mizuho Pepe Dome. I highly recommend getting a chance to go if you can. Finally, for us on the top stories, something from Leif Skodnik at World Baseball Network that I caught. NPB is looking at hosting games outside of Japan for the first time in the near future. NPB Commissioner Sarayuki Sakakibara said as much Monday this week. He hinted at a Giants Tigers match in Seoul or London as something that could draw people and be worth the extra expenses for travel and the disruption to the schedule. I say, never mind that. Give us Hawks versus Marines at Sky Dome in Toronto, or give us Buffaloes versus Hawks at Dodger Stadium, or any number of things along the West Coast in North America, because that's how you're going to get more international fans. Go after the existing baseball fans. Mike, please back me up on that.
I mean, I do think I agree with you. If they do any game in the U.S., it would be on the West Coast. However, Giants and Tigers at Seoul would also be pretty cool because I mean, what was it, Lee Sung-yup played for the Giants for a number of years, and he's a legend in Korea, so I could see that pulling numbers.
I
I
also think you could make a case for Lions versus Eagles in Taiwan, given the history those two teams have with signing big name Taiwanese pitchers.
Oh, for sure, and I mean, you could if you were honestly, with Sadaharo's Taiwanese roots, you could, do Giants in Taiwan. Kazuhisa Inao was, I believe, is Anichi Korean, so you could have Swallows in Korea. I think there's a lot of possibilities, and I really would like one of the matches to be near me, but I know the odds of that are slim to none.
Okay, last thought. Golden Eagles of the NPB versus the Monkeys of the CPBL. Rakuten versus Rakuten. Let's do it. Or the Lotte Giants against the Chiba Lotte
I
Marines.
would like to see that. That would be
Fight for
pretty cool.
your corporation's money. Fight, fight, fight.
Corporate infighting.
Our main segment in today's podcast is, as usual, Around the Horn. With Jimbo away, Mike's going to take over both of his teams. So, with the last year's pennant winners, Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, up first, Mike, what do you have for them?
So the big story this offseason for the Hawks was that Takuya Kai, the longtime catcher, many-time Gold Glove winner, far and away the one of the best, if not the best catcher in Japan, declared his free agency, which was a shock to a lot of people. And after a couple of, I want to say it was a couple months of speculation, he suddenly got tied to the Giants in other league, and he signed for 15 million for over 5 years. And I was actually kind of shocked at that. I always thought that he would just stay with the Hawks because I feel like that's what every player does, even if they declare free agency. But I think it's a good signing. Some people think it's a bit of an overpay. I do think that contract will make its money back in probably jersey sales alone. But how old is Kai now? Is he 32? I
He's
believe
somewhere in there.
somewhere.
I'm just
So
thinking that the guy who's celebrating this news most is Hawks backup catcher Takashi Umino because the job's his now.
yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's good for him, and I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting, and especially for 5 years. I mean, Japanese players do tend to play a bit longer. But 5 years for a 32-year-old catcher. I don't. I mean, that's kind of odd. But it will be cool to see the Kai Cannon in action at Tokyo Dome. And one other big signing is Naoki Uesawa is back from Boston. He got posted last offseason. I believe he went to the Rays first, and then I believe they released him, and he went to Boston. He only threw 4 innings at the MLB level, but he made it. He pitched in the U.S. Now he's back in Japan. And from 2014 to 2023, he appeared in 173 games for the Fighters, amassing a 3.19 career ERA with 913 Ks. And, it's a good signing. Helps to patch over the loss of Ishikawa, which we'll get to later. But in other news, Zhang Junwei was added to the development on a developmental contract. The 19-year-old Taiwanese pitcher impressed the Hawks brass at the U18 Baseball World Cup last year. He'll get a chance to join one of the best development organizations in baseball, let alone just NPB. So, hope to see how he turns out.
Yeah, the Fighters and Eagles can't hog all the Taiwanese pitchers, I guess. Speaking of the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters, they're up next. They continue to add pitching strength, this time signing Koji Fukutani from the Chunichi Dragons. The 2014 All-Star started his career as a reliever before moving to the rotation in 2020. Last year, he only pitched 29 innings, but did put up a 3.72 ERA, not far off his career average. Fastball peaking in the high 90s, slider and changeup to mix in. I wouldn't be surprised if he rejoins the bullpen, especially to give Seiji Tanaka and Naoya Miyanishi a little bit of help back there. The Fighters also brought back Drew Verhagen on a one-year, $2.2 million deal. Verhagen joined the Fighters for his second stint with the club last season, throwing 49 innings of 3 ERA ball. Starting staff is getting a little crowded, But you add him to the three-headed monster of Hiromi Ito, Takayuki Kato, and Sachi Yamasaki, and that is a dynamo top end of the rotation. And on the offensive side, catcher, first baseman, DH, he wears many hats. Ariel Martinez was extended on a 3-year, $6.5 million contract. He's hit 28 home runs over 2 full seasons with the Fighters, and has really become a key contributor to the offense. Because if you walk him, you got to deal with Reyes, and if you walk him, you got to deal with Kiyomiya, and if you walked him, you got to deal with Mandami, and Mandami doesn't walk, and he also you got no place to put him. So I really do like how this Fighters offense is shaping up. Cannot wait for the season to start. Give me back baseball, please. Up next, barely scraping into the postseason was the Chiba Lotte Marines. They may have a better chance this year. Mike, go ahead.
I mean, you didn't have to add that last part. But anyway, the Marines getting a huge signing in the pitching department, adding Shuta Ichikawa from the Hawks. 3 years, $4 million. Ishikawa has a 3.32 career ERA with 712 strikeouts, 4 rings with the Hawks dynasty of the 2010s, and he no-hit the Lions on August 2023. His pitch mix includes a cutter, a forkball, and a power curveball. Those are his biggest threats to batters. And I did say at the start of the offseason, I figured that was going to be the Marines' #1 priority, especially with at the time Sasaki's future was up in the air, and then later, it was confirmed he was posted. So after that, I was like, yeah, they have to be making a big push for Ishikawa, and I don't believe he was a free agency for very long. So I do believe he's going to be a great addition to the rotation. I'm excited to see what he can do in Marines pinstripes, and I think we'll have a fun 3 years ahead of us. And Tyron Guerrero is coming back from the Angels farm system to rejoin his 2022 team. I don't remember much of Guerrero from back then. I'm sure I've watched a couple of starts. I'm just probably just blanking. He struck out 63 in 46 innings 2 years ago, so as long as he keeps up his performance from the Mexican Winter Leagues, he'll be solid and, hoping good things there.
Yeah, he
Uh,
had an ERA in the ones over the last 2 Mexican Winter League seasons. So more bullpen help is never a bad thing.
and then also former MLB starter Brad Keller is also joining the team. He started 116 games, mostly for the Royals since 2018. The 29-year-old still has an interesting repertoire with slider, cutter, splitter, and sinker being his most common pitches. Brian Sammons, who is a lefty, made his MLB debut with Detroit last season, pitching 27 and a third innings with a 3.62 ERA. Thinking his role will be bullpen, but who can say? And the one thing that I am disappointed with is that CC Mercedes is quite clearly not coming back this year. I want to say he signed somewhere else. I think in either Korea or Taiwan, or I saw that he was linked there, but I still don't. I don't think he's signed yet. He might be, but I just don't know why you'd let him walk, or if like what the reasoning was, or even if he, oh, he's currently in the CPBL, so he's currently with the Uni Lions in the CPBL. But I don't know why you'd let him walk. I can't imagine he was asking for too much, or like you think he's just not. His problem was that the team didn't score runs. That's not his fault. I don't understand that. So I'm gonna be missing him.
Yeah,
But
he had a good
yeah,
run in Japan, and hopefully he can work his way back. It's only 30
yeah,
years old, too.
I just don't understand. And I saw that there was several teams interested in him. I think there was even a couple other League Ones interested in him. So I don't know what's going on there. But that's all for the Marines for right now. And I too am looking at the hoping for the start of preseason.
Next up, back to Mike with the Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles, and a familiar name for the Philly fan on the roster, right, Mike?
Yeah, former he was either like a top five. I don't believe he was ever the #1 prospect. He could be. Spencer Howard is now a member of the Rakuten Golden Eagles. Although a shoulder injury has weakened his fastball, he can still pinpoint it where he wants and mix in a changeup, slider, and curveball. Broken with the Phillies back in 2020, then moved on with the Rangers, Giants, and Guardians. As for what I remember, Spencer Howard, I remember inconsistency was mainly just the problem, and he got traded, and I remember he kind of was just he kind of in an interview he kind of like was like stick it to the Phillies, and then I don't know. I remember he got injured, and it's just been up and down. So hopefully he can right himself in Japan, which is becoming a more and more common thing. Pitchers going over and then coming back. So I'd like to see him succeed. And Miguel Yajure joins from Yakult. The 27-year-old right-hander started 23 games with a 3.34 ERA and 84 strikeouts. So not a big strikeout guy, but definitely a dependable starter. which is very important for the Eagles. They've also added another Taiwanese Titan or monster to the roster, right-hander Hisao Chi on a developmental contract. He is 6'6" and throws an elite changeup and already has a low 90s fastball at the age of 19. So here's hoping he can blossom into a complete monster for the Eagles. That sounds like he'll be very fun to watch, whether he's pitching at the top level or if he is pitching on the farm, which you can watch the farm games on Pacific League TV, by the way.
I was going to sneak in the shameless plug if you weren't.
The best part about them is that they come on at a more US friendly time.
10 p.m. Eastern, if memory serves.
Sometimes they're even on at 7. It's bizarre. But and then the other big story for the Eagles is that Masahiro Tanaka is officially gone from the team and he signed with the Giants. Now it's weird because literally the day that he announced that he was released or let go from the Eagles, he was in a live stream on Instagram in full like rock in Eagles uniform, like in like the fall practice or like the winter practice or whatever. And he was in the dugout with all his teammates and everything, and they were streaming. And then next day he asked for his release. So that was just a weird tidbit. But signed with the Giants, and I'm wishing him all the best. I think he'll be really fun to watch, and especially with the loss that they had this season with Sugano going over to MLB, which will probably be covered later. Good contract, good signing in my opinion.
Yeah, especially at only 1 million US dollars for 1 year. You're taking a lottery chance on him that he's not completely cooked. It looked like he was starting to get his strength back up towards the end of last season. This just screams Matt Sundin on the Canucks or Daniel Alfredson in Detroit for me. Like, no one's going to remember his jersey from this.
Watch him win a Sagamore or something.
Oh, of
Now that
course,
now that
yeah.
now that we've said that,
Yomiuri Devil Magic, naturally.
podcast jinx.
Podcast jinx. Podcasters jinx. It extended to Matt Seivert and I when we were doing a couple of midnight matinees, if you remember. By the way, look for an announcement for that by the time we're back in the podcast booth. I'm hoping to have something for February.
Here's hoping. I'm ready to go anytime.
For the Oryx Buffaloes, who finished fifth last season, it's been a bit of a quiet offseason since we last saw them. They've also added a domestic free agent pitcher. This one is Aren Kuti from the Carp, a dependable starter for Hiroshima over the last decade, and the last few years have been superb, like averaging 100 strikeouts and a 3-ish ERA per season. Pair him with Miyagi, Yamashita, and Soltani, and this is a world beater of a rotation. Now, if only they can get someone to hit. Either that or everyone regresses back positively to the mean. It can't be as bad as last year, can it?
It can
Another team
always get
hoping
worse.
it's not as bad as last year, the Saitama Seibu Lions, who conclude our Around the Horn.
Even in the off-season, they go last. Staying in Japan, but changing teams, the Lions get Leandro Cedeno from the Buffaloes. 15 home runs in 98 games to lead the Buffaloes. He'll inject some pop into the Seibu offense for sure. Not really, just I hope he does. It would be fun. I mean, just looking at it and what I've seen on TV over the past couple of years, I think the Balloona Dome is a hitters friendly park. I hope
If
he can
memory
be.
serves, it is. And if anything, it'll give the aging statesmen in Takeya Nakamura, Takumi Kuriyama some breathing room at DH, or he can spell Kengo Watanabe over at first.
Yeah, for sure. And Trey Wingenter who had some on and off success for the Padres in 2018 and 19, the Tigers in 2023, and the Red Sox and Cubs last season. The 31-year-old has always had a good strikeout rate, and he will be joining the Lions. So hopefully we got some some better days ahead of the Lions for sure going into the 2025 season.
One last note, this missed the notes because it broke in the last 24 hours. Son of Major Leaguer Phil Nevin, Tyler Nevin has signed with the Lions. I believe he is an infielder, but I could be wrong. Either way, fun to see some additional foreign talent joining the Cebu club. With Around the Horn out of the way, it's off to familiar faces in new places. And I want to focus on the Australian Baseball League because most of the folks that were lent there have returned home to prep for the upcoming NPB season. Credit to Lucas Borgia at World Baseball Network for a great rundown. Some highlights for names who did well down under. 30-year-old reliever Taiki Ono for the Buffaloes did great for the Melbourne Aces, striking out 19 across 9 relief appearances. He was the only Aces pitcher to get an All-Star nod, too. Infielder Fumiya Kurokawa has an uphill climb to get into the starting lineup for the Rakuten Eagles, but he put up a 737 OPS with 1 home run for the Perth Heat. Two Marines batters put up OPSs in the 700s for the Sydney Blue Sox, outfielder Daito Yamamoto and catcher Ryusei Terachi. Also impressing the Sydney Blue Sox was 18-year-old Marine shortstop Shinya Matsuishi. He earned plaudits for his defensive chops over 19 starts, but didn't really impress with a bat. And one last stateside note, Patrick Murphy, formerly of the Fighters, has headed to the Texas Rangers minor league system. Best of luck to him in the upcoming season. By the time this episode gets posted, we should know where Roki Sasaki, the monster of the Reiwa, has been posted to. So we're going to take our lucky stabs. If this goes up before he announces, feel free to chime in with yours. If not, laugh at us in the comments section. Mike, I know you are the jilted ex of Roki Sasaki. Where do you think he's going?
Part of me really wants to say the Mariners because I feel that it is what he's looking for. It is a team that has some playoff potential as they've shown. What was it in 2023? They made the playoffs again for the first time in a while, and I don't think they did it last year or this year. At the behest of getting or the risk of getting screamed at, I mean the Mariners are kind of a small market. Seattle itself is not, but if you put like if you stacked up all the fans of MLB teams, I think the Mariners are kind of somewhere maybe at the bottom or maybe halfway. So he did say it is rumored that, he wants a smaller market. So I think that's a possibility. That's where I think he will likely end up. I think most big markets are off the table, but what I think is going on is I think he does want to be with the Dodgers, as has been reported on a million times. But I think the only way he's going to the Dodgers is if he is okay with being in the minor leagues for an extended period of time. And I don't think he is because let's look at the Dodgers rotation. I think they went with for 2025, they're going with a six-man rotation and they have a lot of money invested in that rotation. I really can't imagine that they'd move anybody for him. Or, I don't think he wants to go to the bullpen, so I don't know what teams are talking about that. But long-windedly, I do think it'll probably be the Mariners is probably the best landing spot. He did say he didn't want other players to be in the team meetings with when he meets with the teams. So, Ichiro couldn't sit on the meeting and everything, but it's either them or honestly, I could also kind of see him actually being in San Diego as well. He's reportedly had a very good relationship with Yu Darvish, and I believe it's in the Samurai Japan WBC documentary that they released. There's a lot of footage of them together. So I'd say it's probably between those two teams.
And he is waiting until January 15th when all the 2025 international signing bonus pool money becomes available. Because Sasaki got posted so young, he's limited just as an international FA, like Shohei Ohtani was. So that signing bonus is all the Marines are going to be able to get a pinch from as a posting fee. Sure enough, Seattle does have the maximum allotment along with seven other teams. However, I don't see him signing with surrender squads like Miami, the Athletics, Bay, maybe, Cincinnati, doubt it. You stole my answer. I was going to say Seattle. So just to say something different, I think he could take a flyer on Tampa Bay.
I do think that they're probably trying to get invited to the table. I believe at this point we know which teams have and haven't been able to meet with them. I can't say for
Yeah, but
certain, but
the his agent has been very strict about not having any leaks. We know all the big teams are going out. Okay, here's one. I think Detroit could snag him. Team on the up and
I
up, lots of
I
young
was thinking that.
players. Motor City has a history of supporting international players. Kenta Maeda's still on the club. You got your elder statesman who can act as a translator.
The one question I have though is apparently I don't know if it's true, but MLB teams are, they're limited to the international money. But apparently, for a signing bonus, they can give him anything. So I'm wondering where are the sign.
That doesn't sound quite right. The bonus pool is the signing bonus.
Oh, okay. I read something that something with incentives it can be unlimited and separate. I might have been wrong, but if that was true, that'd be funny to wonder where the signing bonus bidding's going. But I could see Detroit, especially with Maeda still there, and I believe Maeda said he has like another 2 years MLB left, so it would be cool to see him spend those 2 years with Sasaki and help him out in MLB. But overall, I do think those three teams could possibly be the best landing spots for him, or most likely.
I'm also just hoping that the Blue Jays sign someone, anyone. Like, I've heard that there are 10 teams who are not in on Roki Sasaki. I want names. Who are the 10 teams and can we relegate them?
Who was what was the oh God, there was just something with the Blue Jays earlier. They just lost out on a free agent to the Texas. Oh God, I forget who it was.
It's all of them. The Blue Jays are, the vibes are rancid. That's why I'm a Pacific League fan. And hopefully you are too. So, like, subscribe, comment, do all that YouTubey stuff. There's a lot more where this came from, especially as we get closer to the season. Thank you for listening to the podcast. We'll catch you next month.
From cheers of the fans to the crack of the bat, learn it all from Jimbo, Gabe, Mike, and Matt. Giving thoughts on all public teams, whether times are boom or if they are lean. Hero players that you should know, not only the good things, highs and the lows. Here it is, we're ready to go. Please enjoy the podcast on with the show.
Good morning, good evening, and good everything in between, and welcome to the podcast. It's our off-season special. I'm your host, Jim Bobernicki, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Gabe Lerman. How you doing, Gabe?
So glad I don't have a front yard to shovel. Toronto got like 12 inches of snow dumped on it last
Oh, yeah.
night, and I live in a shoebox in the sky, so my back is in good shape. My legs are not aching. It's all good.
You know, we got hit by the same system this morning. I had a shift that started at 6 a.m., and I fought my way through knee-high snow to get there.
Ah, the
And-
joys of working from home.
yeah. And we're joined as well by Mr. Michael Bewey. How you doing, Mike?
Doing well over here. We did get snow. We got like 4 inches, I think, and then it immediately was rained away the next day because it was 43. Because we're in that weird part of the year over here where 1 second it is pushing 50, and then the next day it's snowing, and then back to back.
No, here we got the opposite undulation. There's days where we get tons of snow and it's minus 10 or minus 8. What is that in American? That's like like 20 or something.
Yeah,
And
like
then we
high
get
teens,
and then we get days where it's like minus 30 here. And
but bright and sunny.
yes, yeah. I guess that's there's something about cold sunlight that really hits in a bad way. But we are still in the off season. We are almost to the beginning of the new season. We're getting there. We're climbing there. We're trudging through the notes. What do we have today? Top off the top rope, Gabe. What are the highlights for us?
Speaking of things that don't hit right, the Los Angeles Dodgers have signed Japanese pitcher Roki Sasaki on an entry-level deal with a signing bonus of $6.5 million. The Blue Jays got robbed again.
Again,
Bad enough it was Otani, now this.
yeah, it's brutal. I mean, I was expecting Dodgers the whole time, but it just hurts when it happens, you know. And I think this isn't very good for Japanese baseball. I prefer players stay in Japan longer, but I mean, he made the move and he did what he did. And I actually just today saw a video of him pitching in Dodgers blue with the cap. It looked like he was playing for the Dragons. It was just so visibly perturbing for me.
And yet, there are rumblings and rumors he could start game 2 of the regular season at Tokyo Dome because, of course, the game 1 start is going to Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Shota Imanaga. That is the first time in MLB history both opening day starters will be Japanese.
I am going to go out of my way, no matter what my scheduling issues are, to watch that. Though that sounds like a real good time.
Mike, your thoughts on Sasaki's final landing spot?
I believe that was always the spot he was really going to end up. I did say that I kind of thought he could go to the Mariners. That seemed like a good fit, especially with the alleged he didn't want any Japanese players at the meetings, or he didn't want players at the meetings in general, but I think we found out that the players were at the meetings anyway. And I don't know, I feel like the whole waiting game was just for show, really. I think he was a Dodger from day one, and I guess what was it? They had to wait for their money to international slot money to
Yeah, they did need to trade
re-pull.
for additional international slot money, and they did so after announcing the signing, not before like the Blue Jays did.
So I mean, I'll probably be at work when they do the Dodger game in Tokyo. Even if I wasn't, I probably just wouldn't watch because I just don't want to watch a Dodger game. And I have been seeing constant videos from spring camps, and he's in the Dodger thing, and it's just like, all right, whatever, moving on.
Well, wait, if it's in Tokyo Dome, won't it be at like super early in the morning, or like are they gonna?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so maybe you won't be, or maybe you can watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
What would
Yes,
that
but
be?
you
If
won't find it on
it's
Pacific League TV.
Exactly, which is the worst thing about the game. Let's be frank. The worst thing that's happened is that Roki Sasaki is no longer on Pacific League TV, but we have a bunch of other great players still, and we are in for a great season, I think. Do we have any updates, Japan side, for our boys?
Well, yeah, spring training games have started. By the time this video lands on YouTube, you'll be, along with our January episode, where the bulk of the offseason really happened, you'll be able to see videos of highlights from games going on right now. Batting practice for Hotaka Yamakawa and Yuki Yanagita, Sosuke Genda doing fielding practice, Eagles top draft pick Rui Muneyama doing some slick fielding and hitting at shortstop. Very exciting player to watch. I
Yeah,
also
actually,
noticed we now have Spanish language videos. Unless it's one of you two guys doing that, I think that's someone new on the cast. Either way, we're expanding our reach, and it's a good thing to see.
yeah, it's definitely not me doing it. Mike, hablo español, or
no hablo español.
hey, you got that right. Hey, maybe I should start doing videos in French. Ça serait intéressant, non? Ça
I will
serait...
pay you not to.
Les Marines, les
My wallet's
Buffaloes.
open. I'm ready to start reading off the numbers.
And so we're going to kick it right over to our Around the Horn segment where we take a look at all the teams in the league from top to bottom and see what's going on with all of them. So with my Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, I was not here last time we convened to talk about how absolutely devastatingly heartbroken I was that Takayuka Kai has gone over to the Giants. One of my favorite Hawks players. Very sad to see him go. But as compensation for him leaving, we did get to pick up right-handed pitcher Yusuke Ito from the Giants earlier last month. The 28-year-old appeared in 8 games for the Giants last year, allowed only 1 run over 8 innings and 2/3 with 8 Ks. So it's a pretty good stat line. I got to be real, I don't have anything on him, but more pitching is always good. I'm just really sad that Kai is gone, but hopefully, I mean, the Hawks are all about depth, so hopefully they can replace him and all will be well. You guys have any feelings about that?
Takashi Umino has waited years for this chance. I'm eager to see what the kid can pull off. The whole compensation of a player for signing away a domestic free agent is another one of those little NPB idiosyncrasies. It really does incentivize players to stick with their team longer term, similar to how back in the old MLB days, getting hit with a qualifying offer meant that you had to give up a draft pick or additional bonus pool money. This case, it's an actual human body. Thankfully, no one like notable, but still, more bullpen arms for the Hawks? Never a bad
Sure.
thing.
Yeah, why not? Is that not the case anymore in MLB, where if you sign like a big name free agent, you have to give a draft pick, or that's done now?
I don't believe it's a draft pick. I believe the other team gets a supplemental round pick. So they get a free pick out of nothing. And I think some international bonus pool money goes the other way.
Okay, well, the latter part's pretty nice. And so we'll kick it over to our second place team, the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. What do you have for us, Gabe?
The Fighters won that first spring training game over the Eagles 5-2. I caught a glimpse of that. No more signings since last report, but we did spot Chusei Manami, future All-Star and MVP candidate, posing with pineapples with a Yuli Gurriel-esque hairdo. He's going to be sporting some interesting locks when he's got his cap off. Spring training in Miyazaki and Okinawa. What are you going to do?
You know what you're gonna do. You're gonna have fun. That's vacation time. That's party time.
And yeah, just stay warm, get loose, because you know the preseason games, the open season they call it, starting in March. So the games are going to start getting real quick.
Yep, absolutely. And that'll bring us over to our last playoff team from last season, the Chiba Lotte Marines. What do you have for us on the Chiba front, Mike?
All right, so for the Marines, some of the bigger news coming out recently is that infielder Yudai Fujioka has been appointed as team captain back on January 31st. And I'm pretty happy with that, though I think it's kind of a weird one. He has been there for a while, but I don't know. I feel like maybe it should have stayed on Shogo Nakamura. I mean, he has slipped a little bit, but he's a big member of the team, productive some at times. I did say he did slip last year. Notable face. I feel like Shogo Nakamura could have stayed with it, or Toshiya Sato I would have liked. The Marines catcher who's really broken out recently. I feel like a catcher being a team captain is like a pretty cool thing that you don't see too often. Because I mean, he is the captain of the pitching staff in a way. So, but I do think Yudai Fujioka is a good pick, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I mean, like baseball captains, they don't really do anything, right? Unless
Yeah,
It's
I'm
not like
forgetting
they're
yeah.
something.
talking to the referees about penalties or anything like that in hockey. Yeah. It is a ceremonial designation, but it is a cool thing that just about every single NPB club has one, and that you can get that Captain C affixed to the jersey when you purchase one.
But
Yeah, I
one
have
thing,
a Nakamura one, and I really do wish MLB would bring that back. I know there's some team captains, but I kind of really do think, at least for marketing purposes, every team should have a captain.
it helps, but why? I mean, I know Nakamura had a down year last year, but like, is there any other reason you think they moved off him? It seems a bit strange.
I
Like he's
think they
still
do
part of
rotate every so often. Like some teams rotate annually. It's just a way to recognize players who are contributing in the locker room. While we're on the topic of Shogo Nakamura, I saw a news story that he's going to be moving back to second base this season so that Hisanori Yasuda can take over at third again. That move I approve of.
But see, to me, just that alone, to me, is why Nakamura should still be captain. Like he's the guy who's just all around, just trying to do what he can to make the team better. I don't know.
They did get rid of the captaincy for a couple of years after, I think it was after Daichi Suzuki left. He left the free agency to go to the Eagles, and then he was the team captain, and then I think it was just kind of vacant for a while, and then they brought it back, gave it to Nakamura. So maybe they're just, still just floating around, seeing if they can find anybody that be a long-term captain. Who knows? But yeah, Nakamura is somebody that I think probably should have stayed captain. But in other news, Austin Voth is the fifth foreigner on the team, signing with the Marines on February 9th. Voth, where's it Voth? I don't know. Previously appeared in MLB with the Nationals, Orioles, and Mariners, putting together a 4.7 career ERA with 343 Ks. I believe he's 32 years old. Not necessarily a signing that I like the Marines to go out and do. I prefer to try to get them the foreign pitchers maybe a few years younger. I'm just not a big fan of like the older pitchers. Just I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me sometimes. And sometimes I feel as though you don't really get the best performances out of them. And I think, the older they are, the more it's ingrained in their head about how you're supposed to do things, how you're supposed to pitch, how stuff's supposed to be run. And I feel like, when you come to Japan, it's such a big culture shock gap and everything. I feel like, the older the pitcher is with more MLB time, it's going to be harder to get that mentality out of them. But I do hope he fits in and I do hope he succeeds.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, we always want foreign players to succeed, but I don't know. I think maybe when an older player shows up, maybe they're a bit more
Yeah.
sort
I
of
mean,
within themselves, and they kind of know the way they want to do it, and they're kind of adaptable. Maybe I
yeah, I
don't
agree
know.
with that too. Like I did like the Dallas Keuchel signing. I thought he was he didn't do too much, and he came in at the literally end of the year, and they just threw the ball at him. We're like, here, go out. And I would have liked to see him back. I think he would have, former Cy Young winner would have been a great addition, especially with the experience that he could give to the younger staff. But moving on from that, some other stuff going on in the Marines. On April 16th, Lotte will have a Star Wars Nights at Zozo Marine Stadium as they host the Nippon Ham Fighters. And though NPB teams always have special giveaway days and all, they give like jerseys all the time. I don't know the last time that a Japanese team had a Star Wars night. I know there was that one with the Giants maybe over 10 years ago now, where Darth Vader,
Yeah, I've seen some good memes with Darth Vader in
Yeah,
yeah.
Japan.
Darth Vader hitting the baseball through the Balluna Dome roof. It was at the Lions
Oh,
ballpark.
okay. And but no words on what they'll be giving away or what it will entail, but keep an eye out for that.
The thing with the Star Wars night with the Marines, if there's any team in the MPB that I trust to have a cool Star Wars night, it'd be the Marines. The Marines crush with live events. They do really good promos, and like their special jerseys are really cool. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do something really cool for Star Wars Night that would totally outshine the Giants thing we were talking about.
You know, one thing that now that you say that, you ever see the mysterious fish that the Marines had?
Of course, he's the greatest
That,
mascot in
yeah,
human history.
but his, you know how he would take off his body and run around as a skeleton?
Yeah.
That, but he's the Death Star.
Oh, yo, I'm in. He's the Death Star. And he pops out as like C-3PO or something. Like, yeah,
Nah, he's still the same thing. That's
Yeah,
just
okay.
just keep it as is.
Well, he could just be a stormtrooper, maybe. Anyway,
Yeah, maybe. Get him
anyway,
on the
I love
get the
it.
Marines on the
It's
phone. I
great.
got ideas.
And I'm just sitting here going, can they borrow Big Boss Shinjo's hovercraft?
Oh yeah, he could fly in on
The
that.
Yeah,
hover
they gotta
bike.
do something like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, oh my mind is racing right now. No, there's the Marines crush in marketing, so I have super faith in them for all this.
On April 2nd and 3rd, Lotte will hold a bike race event for children.
What? Pause. What did you say?
A bike rake.
I heard a vice rake.
So I stumbled because my tab switched back to Japanese and I had to translate it real quick, but I was reading
Oh,
faster
we
than
need
it
to
could
keep
go.
that out, Jake.
And
That was
at this
excellent.
point, like, we're out of practice.
That was just
Yeah,
a
just
great
keep that in
outtake.
there. But anyway, they will have a bike race event for children. Just a fun way for Chiba to connect to the community. And as we've mentioned in past ones, Chiba always seems to be interacting with the community and having all sorts of events for them. And one other thing, starting on the 14th of this month, so tomorrow for us, but right now for them, they will start taking special orders for autographed memorabilia from the Marine shop with a special focus on Marine's new rookies for the year. Each autograph will be limited to, I believe, 30, and you get random pieces from shikishis, which are actually just little signed giant like boards, all the way up to towels, which I feel like the autograph won't hold well on that. And then pictures, 8x10s, even says here a handbag, which is quite interesting. So, if you're listening whenever I get this up, the sale's over, but will be a very, very cool thing.
Well, no, I mean that's definitely a lot more for the local fans. Like maybe, like if you grew up supporting a player in high school and then he just went over to the Marines, and you have a friend who has a crush on him or like whatever. Like, yeah, you get him a little thing for Valentine's Day. Why not? That's cute. I like
Off
that.
topic, but I know somebody that went to school with Otani, and they did have a crush on him, and needless to say, they did not win out in the end.
Okay, 2 points. How have you never mentioned that before? Secondly, who doesn't have a crush on Otani? Let's be real.
It's just never come up. It's just never come up in conversation before.
And so we kick it over to the team that just missed the playoffs last year. Mike, what do we have going on with the Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles?
All right, so for the Rakuten Eagles, there is basically a whole lot of nothing for the most part, but one interesting thing did come out. Outfielder Ryosuke Tatsumi says that he's going to try to be a two-way player this year and has been seen throwing 94 miles per hour, which that is something.
I would just add he was seen doing it at pitching practice. It wasn't that he was in the woods throwing balls against a tree.
He was playing catch with Bigfoot. Unless I don't think they have a Bigfoot over there, but they might. He was playing catch with them, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah,
Just what Japan needs. More two-way players.
Hell yeah.
other than that, nothing for the Rakuten Golden Eagles, unless you want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. I got that for you.
Oh boy. Oh yeah. We're right after that. We'll get into that on our own private time after the show in the podcast
The after
dark.
podcast, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll kick it over to the I was gonna say not defending champions, because I got my years mixed up, but the former defending champions, the Oryx Buffaloes. What do you have for us with them, Gabe?
Finally, some offense. The Oryx Buffaloes announced the signing of outfielder Edward Olivares back on February 2nd and infielder Jordan Diaz on January 8th. So now they've got their foreign player slots maxed out. Great to see. Olivares was signed as an amateur by the Toronto Blue Jays before being traded to the Padres in 2018 in the Yangervis Solarte deal. He debuted with San Diego in 2020, then was a Royal from that August to 2023, and a Pirate last season. He's got 29 home runs and a .254 career batting average over his MLB experience. As for Diaz, the 24-year-old Colombian was signed as an amateur by the Athletics and had limited play time in 2022 and 23, hit 10 home runs with a 227 batting average. A surprising move for someone that young to be headed to the Buffaloes, but it's interesting to see if maybe this is a chance to rebuild his cachet, get some extra reps in where he's blocked, or maybe he just doesn't want to play in West Sacramento. Who knows? The Olivares deal I really like as a DH, as someone who can spell Sugimoto or Nishikawa in the corners. That's a solid move.
Yeah, but the Diaz move, I'm not. I mean, it's always good to have somebody, but that one is a little more perplexing.
Because you've
his
got that
primary
golden.
position?
I believe it is second base,
Hmm.
which is normally Ryo Ota's spot. But if Yuma Tongu's still not healthy or back to normal, Ota to first, Diaz to second. I mean, Kurebayashi and Mune are locked in on the left side of that infield.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I definitely do like the first move for them, though, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And so that brings us over to our favorite team that rests in the doldrums in the dungeon of the Pacific League standings. Even though the season hasn't even started yet, they are still there waiting and prowling and hoping to at least get up to fifth place next season. The Saitama Seibu Lions. And I'm going to start with some very bad news. Their star prospect, last year's Rookie of the Year, if I recall correctly, Natsuki Takeuchi, has injured his left elbow MCL. He's going to be starting the season off on the farm to recuperate and stretch back out. Lord willing, this is a super temporary, literally very minor injury because he was a star last season. He was basically the only shining light for the Lions last year, and God willing, he gets himself back on track.
A Pacific League Rookie of the Year shelved due to an elbow injury. Thank goodness it's not his UCL and it's not a tear. But still, I'd be very cautious bringing him back.
Yeah, but I think he can, and also they've got I always forget his name, but I think Hoda, right? They've got another
Shinnosuke Hada, yes.
Yeah, they've got another prospect they can call up soon to maybe get some reps and see how that goes for him. So that'd be great. And we missed this last episode, but Shuta Tonosaki, one of my favorite players, has agreed to move to third place to give the manager more flexibility building the lineup. And he's also expressed some interest in playing the outfield again. Now, I'm kind of two minds about this because on the one hand, I do appreciate the flexibility, and third base is a huge hole for the Lions. So I definitely get the thinking. However, if you then do that, then now second base is a hole again for the Lions. And you got to kind of try to figure something out with that. But as long as Tonosaki is willing to work with whatever works best for the team, and I mean, he is a very solid fielder and a solid batter, so I don't mind seeing him at third base.
Moving him to third also opens up room in the middle infield for some of the Lions' younger players. Like I'm thinking the tiny highlight reel Natsuo Takizawa. Yes, he stands only 5'4", but he's a big presence on the infield.
Yeah, I mean that could be a good stand-in at second base, especially if Tonosaki's at third. That could be a nice little rotational adjustment for the team.
And you got the big slugger on the rise, Kento Watanabe over at first.
And a trio of signings to report. Pitcher Yuta Kuroki from the Fighters, infielder Keisuke Nakata from the Hawks, and infielder Taiga Hirasawa from the Mariners. Oh, from
Mariners.
The Marines. I mean, yeah, if there's any two names I'm ever going to get mixed up. From the Marines. Kuroki started with the Buffaloes and won Japan Series with them 2 years ago, putting up a 2.36 ERA over 26 and 2/3 innings pitched. He only made 2 appearances for the Fighters last year, though, so he was kind of wandering around. But that's a pretty good stat line for somebody to pick up. Though, then again, I mean, do the Lions need more pitching help? But I digress. Nakata broke in with the Hawks last year, appearing in 24 games with 3 hits at 14 at-bats last year. And finally, Hirasawa is the longest tenured of the trio, starting with the Marines in 2016. 2018 was his best year, appearing in 112 games, slashing .213, .328, and .330. Glove first kind of guy, but look, I mean, the Lions are in a place where they could use as much help as they can. And I mean, that Takeuchi news is really devastating, but these seem like decent pickups. So, look, we're at the point with the Lions, they should just try anything, right? Like, what do you guys think about all that?
Of the players that the Lions signed, Yuta Kuroki, I think, is the one that has the most potential. He really was lightning in a bottle in that 2022 season. It's a shame that he left, and I hope that the Lions can turn around with him.
Yeah, and it does make me wonder why they only had 2 appearances with the Fighters last year, but the Fighters tend to have a pretty sturdy starting rotation, so maybe they just didn't find the space for him. But anyway, so that brings us to the end of our main segment, and that kicks us over to our familiar faces in new places. How are the boys doing stateside, Gabe?
A few of those. We are recording on a fortuitous occasion. It is the 30th anniversary of Hideo Nomo signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers and leaving the Kintetsu Buffaloes. That basically opened the modern era of Japanese players playing in the majors. Masanori Murakami, yes, valid, but that was back in the 60s, and that started a 30-year blockade, basically, between NPB and MLB. Nomo using the loophole to voluntarily retire from Japanese baseball and sign with the Dodgers started where we are now. Without Nomo, there is no Hideki Matsui, there is no Ichiro, there is no Shohei, and no Yamamoto, and no Sasaki.
It does seem very oddly, for better or worse, foreboding. Is that the word I'm looking for? like a player just dipping in the middle of a contract and sort of how long we'd want to see him in Japan, ending up as a Dodger. It's it's poetry. It rhymes. It clicks. Life is a circle, baby.
And speaking of Ichiro, congratulations and Banzai. He made it into both Halls of Fame on the first ballot, Cooperstown and Tokyo Dome. I think he's only the 8th player to ever get into the Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame on the first ballot. No unanimity there. Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame voters are notorious sticklers. Induct Tuffy Rhodes, gosh darn it. But good to see that he's in the same year in both places. I don't even mind that he didn't get in unanimously in Cooperstown. It's just a number. Are you in? Great, you're in.
Yeah, there's a weird thing about it, I find, where the number doesn't matter between what's the number you need? 75?
75.
Right? Yeah, I don't care between 75 and 98. But if your first ballot over 98, I really am like, hey, so who fucked up here? who didn't vote for the right guy? Like, come on, guys, we all agree he's the right guy.
Ichiro has been threatening. Please make yourself known. I want to invite you over. I want to have dinner. I want to understand what's going on.
I want to speak with you. I want to show you my bat collection.
I'm positive it was just a mistake. People forget it happens.
No, I always think I actually think, and I don't think it was a statement. I think it's a guy thinking to himself, okay, I want to at least give a vote to somebody like, let's say Billy Wagner, just off the top of my head, right? Or Andrew Jones. Like, he's just trying to give a vote to somebody else, and he thinks, Ichiro's going to get in, obviously. I don't know if he'll be 100%, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then it turns out he's the only guy who didn't vote for him. It's like, whoopsie daisy.
I did not get the memo.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously great for Ichiro, one of the Pacific League's biggest stars, and also in the same way that you're talking about Hideo Nomo, such a breakthrough. Like, once Ichiro came through, there was as much as Nomo kind of literally started it, I felt like Ichiro was really where there was a huge kickoff. After Ichiro, the signing numbers really, really increased, and how many people were brought over. I mean, that's where
he was the first batter to really succeed. I mean, yes, he won. I think he won MVP or Rookie of the Year in 2001. The hits record, and it all started with that laser cannon throw from right field to third base. That was the stand up and go, oh, these guys can play. All right, then.
And then, but I mean, it's when a player is signed and they have a great time, it is still good for the Pacific League, even though we do miss them. But it's always great to see people succeed, and nobody succeeded more from the Pacific League than Ichiro. So hats off to, I think a lot of us would agree, our favorite player. One of our favorite players. I was talking to my professor in one of my classes, big baseball fan, about our favorite players ever. And I was like, well, yeah, Ichiro is obviously one of mine. I mean, it's very basic. But who doesn't love Ichiro? Again, other than, I guess, the one guy who didn't vote for him.
One last thought on Ichiro. Do you guys know his favorite English saying?
Of course.
Two rats. Me. How does this go? Wait a minute now. Wait.
He misremembers it. It's August in Kansas City. It's hotter than 2 rats in a wool sock.
I thought it was hotter than 2 rats in a wool sock.
That is the correct application of the phrase. Like I said, Ichiro misremembers it. Oh, my apologies to our Japanese league counterparts. Sorry,
We're
we'll
gonna
bleep it.
we'll leave it, but we'll keep it in though. It's
And
definitely
one
worth it.
last thought on familiar faces. Congratulations to former Cebu Lion Albert Abreu, who is signed with the Cincinnati Reds on a minor league deal back on January 31st. Albert Abreu was actually one of the best pitchers out of that Lions bullpen. If memory serves, his 28 saves were among the top three in the league, and he pitched to a 2.39 ERA over 49 innings pitched. Really good work from him. Hope he can succeed.
Yeah, one of the few bright spots of the Lions season last year, so very much good for him. And so that brings us over to the end of today's show, and we have our question of the day from us to you and you to us. How many more Instagram reels of pitchers throwing can you take? Personally, I have no bounds. I can watch as many, not even just pitchers. I can watch baseball reels all day, whether it's interviews with former players, pitching reels, batting reels. I just love watching baseball, especially in short form format. What about you guys?
It's just pitchers and catchers have reported. Great. When does everyone else show up? I know some folks do arrive early just to get their stretching in and get loose, but it's game action, man. There's that one tweet I remember of just like January, man, I miss baseball. February, man, I miss baseball. March, man, I miss baseball. April 1st, what the hell is this ump's problem?
May, I hate this team. Why do I watch this? And so that brings us to the end of today's show. As always, thank you as ever for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and that all YouTubey stuff. And we'll see you next time on the podcast. Get ready for next season because we are going to have a fantastic season. And take care.